We have some breaking news coming in at this point of time. This is in fact a massive exclusive news break that we're doing here on Times Now, and this is of course in relation to the plight of farmers. Ever since protests against the now withdrawn farm laws began, political parties sitting in opposition to the centre have been accusing the government of working against farmers' interests and rushing to shed tears over Kisan's plight. Today, Times Now will expose these Andolanjeevis, as the PM referred to those who use farmers and their cause as a poll prop. But do not hesitate in depriving them of their due when it comes to real life.
For a year and a half, Delhi's borders were held hostage by agitating farmers over the three farm legislations. But 1300 kilometers away in Jalna in Maharashtra, these 8,000 farmers are neglected and looted.
की ना कुछ किसानों ने आत्महत्या की, कुछ मरे, अभी भी परेशानी में हम सब लोग कर्जदार हो गए। हाँ, कर्जदार हो गए।
For these farmers, no politician has shed a tear. No one has lent support like they did for the farmers who were protesting in the national capital.
जेने की उनकी जो पार्टी है, वो पार्टी चलना चाहिए। किसान मर गए तो चलेगा, लेकिन पार्टी जिंदा रहना चाहिए।
Shiv Sena MP Sanjay Raut met with Rakesh Tikait during that Kisan Andolan, but he was conspicuous by his silence for the farmers of his own state.
तो वो भूखे मर रहे हैं, उनके खेती में गन्ना नहीं है, पानी नहीं है। वो फैक्ट्री चलाने के बाद वो बोलते हम फैक्ट्री चलाएंगे, लेकिन क्या है उनका गन्ना कहाँ लगा रहे? गन्ना बिल्कुल नहीं लगा रहे।
Farmer leaders like Rakesh Tikait declared himself as the messiah of the country's farmers. He hit the streets, marched in the national capital, but is he being a messiah selectively?
बिल्कुल शुगर फैक्ट्री चलाने की मंशा नहीं है उनकी, खाली खुद का कैसा करोड़ों रुपए मिलाना वही देख रहे हो।
8,000 sugarcane farmers of Maharashtra have given decades of their hard work, their sweat and toil to make this factory a success, but were forced to commit suicide after being exploited by those who were hungry for power.
25,000 करोड़ का घपला भ्रष्टाचार, 25,000 करोड़ का भ्रष्टाचार, ये राजनीतिक लोगों का बाहर आ जाएगा।
Their voice has been suppressed for long, but today Times Now will be their voice. We will fight for these 8,000 farmers in Jalna, and we will expose the power-hungry politicians who used these farmers as props for their gain and then left them to their fate. Bureau Report, Times Now.
First, listening to the plight of farmers in Jalna in Maharashtra. Now, these are farmers who went from being stakeholders in a sugar factory to living lives in penury.
ये हजारों लोगों के योगदान से ये कारखाना खड़ा रहा।
इसमें तो हजारों चोर है हमारे महाराष्ट्र में।
कामगारों को दिए नहीं पैसे, काश्तकारों को दिए नहीं, शेयर होल्डर को।
शरद पवार और अजित पवार, इनका सब एक खेल है।
Several victims are now pointing fingers towards current Maharashtra Deputy Chief Minister Ajit Pawar. But it is not just the NCP who is in the dock. Shiv Sena too faces allegations of being in cahoots.
शुगर फैक्ट्री का भ्रष्टाचार है, ये पूरा प्लानिंग करके किया है, प्लानिंग।
अली बाबा बोले तो भी चलता है, क्योंकि वो तो 40 चोर थे, लेकिन इसमें तो हजारों चोर है हमारे महाराष्ट्र में, सहकार लूटने वाले। उसके ये शरद जी पवार और उनके भतीजे अजित दादा इसके मास्टरमाइंड है।
But before we tell you who are these people making scathing indictments against parties in power in Maharashtra, let's take you to the epicenter of this alleged injustice. Jalna district is 400 kilometers from Mumbai. And this is the cooperative sugar factory in question. Times Now team spent 5 days here investigating, trying to unearth the truth. The man on your screens is one of the 8,000 farmers who once could boast of being co-owners of Jalna sugar factory, but now have been forced to live a life of penury.
जालना शुगर कारखाना बर्बाद क्या हुआ, उसने किसानों को भी बर्बाद करके रख दिया। और आज गन्ना किसान इस हालात में हैं कि वो इस तरह से कोल्हू चलाकर गन्ने का रस बेचकर अपना जीवन यापन कर रहे हैं। वो किसान जो एक वक्त अपना गन्ना जालना की शुगर मिल में बेचते थे, पैसा कमाते थे, आज उनकी स्थिति ये हो गई है।
15 एकड़ गन्ना लगाते थे जब फैक्ट्री चालू थी जब, और आज सब्जी खाली कोल्हू के लिए 1 एकड़ गन्ना लगाता हूँ सब्जी में।
कितना फर्क आया आपकी कमाई में? आर्थिक स्थिति कितनी बुरी हुई फैक्ट्री?
बहुत बुरी हाल है। सब्जी कारखाना बंद होने की वजह से मेरा जो मुख्य पीक था वो गन्ना ही था, और गन्ना बोना ही नहीं, हमारा आसपास कारखाना है ही नहीं सब्जी।
ये बर्बादी के दिन कब से शुरू हुए फैक्ट्री के? क्या लगता है?
फैक्ट्री के बर्बादी के दिन जब शुरू हो गए, हमारे जो नेता थे बाला साहब पवार, वो साहब जी गुजर गए, और ये बाकी के जो सत्तारूढ़ बाकी के लोग जो आ गए, ये शिवसेना वगैरह, ये बाकी के पक्षी जो लोग आ गए, ये इन्होंने सब कारखाना खा लिया साहब जी।
So what led to the shareholders of a profit-making factory to be thrown into poverty? To understand that, let's go back in history. The foundation of this factory was laid after the efforts of Bala Sahib Pawar, Aurangabad MP in the 80s, who is credited with bringing together 7,861 farmers, pooling resources to collect 7 crore 52 lakh rupees to invest in the enterprise. For 10 years, the factory ran successfully, making profits year after year. But the stint was broken in 1997-1998.
85-86 से तो 97-98 तक ये कारखाना सही ढंग से चला, क्योंकि वो बाला साहब पवार जो थे हमारे, उनके ताबे में थी। उसके बाद वो ये चीनी मिल जो है, जो हमारे स्थायी राजकीय नेता है अरविंद राव चौहान, उनके ताबे में गए, और वो बॉल्डी में अर्जुन राव खोतकर ये डायरेक्टर थे। जब से ये शुगर मिल को गलती चालू हो गई, उसमें भ्रष्टाचार चालू हो गया।
The big question is, who are these people being named as villains by this man?
Let's go across to our reporters for more on this. In fact, joining us from on ground is our reporter Gaurav Srivastava, who has brought us all those details. Also with us at the moment, Arunil Satadikar joining us from Mumbai. Joining us from our newsroom live at the moment is Priya Behel as well. But I'm going to first and foremost go across to Gaurav, who has been on ground, who can get us the best possible picture of what has transpired. Gaurav, आपने 5 दिन वहां जालना में बिताए, और वहां पे आपको क्या स्थिति मिली? फैक्ट्री की तो बर्बादी की वर्ज पे वो फैक्ट्री अभी है इस वक्त, और ये कहना है वहां के किसानों का जिन्होंने आपसे बात की कि ये सब वहां के स्थानीय नेताओं की वजह से है, जिन्होंने उस पूरे फैक्ट्री और उसकी प्रॉपर्टी को एक तरह से कब्जा लिया है।
देखिए, बिल्कुल सही बात है। ये पूरी एक मॉडस ऑपरेंडी रही है। महाराष्ट्र में तकरीबन 50 कोऑपरेटिव शुगर मिल्स को इसी तरह से बर्बाद किया गया, और जाहिर तौर पर बीच में महाराष्ट्र में एक दौर था जब सूखा पड़ा था, लेकिन सूखा होने की वजह और उसके बाद
जी Okay, let me take this across to Arunil as well. Priya is also with us for more details. Arunil, now this is something that, Gaurav was referring to. It is not just the case of this one particular sugar mill where the farmers who have literally through their blood, sweat and tears have contributed their land, which they thought would go into the making of a sugar factory that would improve their lot. But in fact, it's the exact opposite that has happened. Those who are once stakeholders in the factory are now living a life of penury by their own admission. Arunil.
You're absolutely right, Madhav. In fact, the modus operandi with respect to these entire cooperative scams has been such that these sugar factories were being owned in a very cooperative form, but later on the nexus of these local politicians, mainly from the NCP, because most of these cooperative sugar factories have been there in western Maharashtra as well as in the sugar-rich Nashik belt of Maharashtra, where NCP is very predominant. And in this case as well, as Gaurav was pointing out, that how this factory was shown that it was doing losses, and then later on somebody related to the local politicians only. In this case, it was Arjun Khotkar, the present Shiv Sena MLA, as well as some of the local NCP MLAs. They took over the factory for a mere 42 crore. Now, this entire land of this factory was more than 250 acre. Imagine that kind of a land being bought only for 42 crore, and then later on the factory was again bought by companies related to the same politicians for half of that price. That was 27 crore. This is the same modus operandi that has been observed across 50 different, more than 50 in fact, sugar factories across the state of Maharashtra, and the cooperative banks that have been prevalent to support these sugar factories, they also play a crucial role in this entire scam.
Okay.
In fact, if you look at it, the ED had attached...
Arunil, stay with us. Let me get in a quick word from Priya Bahl. Priya, the reason we are doing this story and the reason we are calling this Operation Andolanjeevi, as the Prime Minister had referred to a section of protesters, is that, it is all very well to raise questions about the role of the centre and its treatment of farmers. But look at what's happening on ground. It's not like opposition parties themselves have contributed to the welfare of farmers in this particular case. In fact, to the contrary, they have looted them, as the farmers are alleging. Priya.
Right, and that is the conspiracy and hypocrisy that Times Now is today exposing for our viewers. Let me first explain once again, to put it in context for Times Now viewers, what exactly is this story by the way of a timeline. Now, the factory that we are talking about, where this scam has been unearthed, is in Jalna. This is a district that is roughly 400 kilometers from the financial capital of Maharashtra, which is Mumbai. Now, this factory, which is a cooperative setup, came into being in 1980s and is credited to the efforts of the then Aurangabad MP Balasaheb Pawar. He got around 7,861 farmers from this area to pool in their resources. Some sold off their land, some sold off their property, some took out loans, some donated their land for the construction of this factory. Their contribution was matched by the government, who also put in some money and land, and that is how this cooperative factory came into being. Now, for at least over a decade, this sugar factory, where every single farmer who contributed had the pride of place as a shareholder, made profits, and it changed the lives of these farmers who were earning decent livelihoods there. Suddenly, in 1997 and 1998, the factory started running into losses. Now, what changed? According to the investigation that has been conducted by Times Network reporters on the ground, by speaking to the farmers, to the whistleblowers, they figured out that there was a sudden entry of certain politicians into the board of directors, and ever since, it was a downhill journey for the factory. It started making losses. Eventually, it led to the auction of the factory, and then the ownership went from the farmers who had given their lives, their blood and their sweat in the making of that factory into private hands. More on that story will unfold as we go through the course of this broadcast, Madhav.
Well, absolutely, Priya. This is, of course, very, very important, as you're telling us. A very, very big revelation there coming in. Arunil and Priya, please stay with us. Let's take a quick look at one of those who is the accused in this matter, that is Arjun Khotkar. Times Now tried to confront this individual. Listen into the sequence.
One of the protagonists of this entire controversy is Shiv Sena leader Arjun Khotkar. He is accused by the farmers of forcibly capturing the sugar mill via a proxy company. Times Now Navbharat decided to get to the bottom of the scam and unearth the truth. But those behind it were clearly rattled and tried to chase us away. Our team tracked down Arjun Khotkar to his luxurious mansion in Jalna to give him an opportunity to respond to the allegations levelled by these farmers. But all we got was a scripted defense of it being a political conspiracy.
अर्जुन खोटकर जी खुद हमारे साथ मौजूद हैं। अर्जुन जी, जिस तरह के आरोप लगाए जा रहे हैं कि 100 करोड़ रुपए की हेराफेरी की किरीट सुमैया ने बोला और शुगर मिल को बर्बाद करने की कोशिश की गई ताकि न किसानों को कुछ मिला, न सरकार जो इसमें हिस्सेदार थी उसको भी कुछ नहीं मिला, उस पर आप क्या कहेंगे?
देखिए भाई साहब, ये सारे के सारे आरोप राजकीय दुर्भावना से प्रेरित है और इस जिले की सारी जनता जानती है कि ये कौन करवा रहा है और कौन कर रहा है, इसलिए ये सारे आरोप तथ्यहीन है, ये सब मैं नाकारता हूँ।
Khotkar may cry conspiracy, but the case against him spin a different tale. The complaint to Enforcement Directorate also names Maharashtra Deputy Chief Minister Ajit Pawar. Farmers that Times Now spoke to have labelled Junior Pawar as the mastermind of this entire scam. Times Now tried to reach out to him.
अब हम अजीत पवार को फोन लगाने जा रहे हैं, ये उनका नंबर है और अब हम उनको कॉल लगाएंगे और हमसे पूछें।
आप संपर्क करना चाहते हैं वह अभी स्विच्ड ऑफ है, कृपया कुछ समय पश्चात प्रयास करें। The number you are calling is currently switched off. Please.
हम एक बार और कोशिश करेंगे। तो फिलहाल तो टाइम्स नाउ भारत ने उनके निजी मोबाइल नंबर पर कॉल करके प्रतिक्रिया लेने की कोशिश की है और फिलहाल उनका जो मोबाइल नंबर है वो स्विच ऑफ जा रहा है।
Some would say this complaint against Ajit Pawar is not surprising at all. He was also being accused of the cooperative bank scam in the state. In July last year, the Enforcement Directorate seized assets worth Rs 65.75 crore linked to the Deputy Chief Minister. A sugar mill linked to him was attached by agencies in a money laundering case. And this case too leads to a sugar mill. The Enforcement Directorate in November had raided several locations linked to Khotkar.
22 अक्टूबर 2021 को जो ईडी यानी इन्फोर्समेंट डायरेक्टोरेट इनके तरफ मैंने एक बहुत बड़ी एक 22 पॉइंट निकाल कर एक कंप्लेंट फाइल किया है। तो अभी इसकी इंक्वायरी ईडी कर रही है। ईडी के लोगों ने वहाँ बहुत सारी रेड भी किए हैं।
These testimonies point to a strategic plan of running cooperative sugar mills to the ground by some in the name of privatization. Social activist Anna Hazare has alleged that such scams can be found in not one but several sugar mills across the state.
राजनीतिक लोगों ने संगठन करके उसको बेच दिया। अरे कम से कम उनकी जमीन उन्होंने खरीदी किया, जमीन उनको तो पूछो ना, पूछा भी नहीं। तो इतना अन्याय और अत्याचार हुआ है। मैं लड़ रहा हूँ, मैं फकीर आदमी है, मेरे पास धन नहीं, दौलत नहीं, फिर भी मैं किसानों के लिए ये लड़ाई लड़ रहा हूँ।
The activist alleges that at least 49 cooperative sugar factories have been at the receiving end of such a sham.
49 शुगर फैक्ट्री की पूरी जांच ये सब हमारे पास है और ये जांच अगर हो गई ना 25,000 करोड़ का घपला भ्रष्टाचार 25,000 करोड़ का भ्रष्टाचार ये राजनीतिक लोगों का बाहर आ जाएगा। इसे ये लोग जांचें नहीं हो रहे, होने दे रहे।
The man who led the anti-corruption fight years ago now vows to launch another agitation to bring justice to these farmers in Jalna. But this is just a trailer. There is much more to this rot. Thousands of crores are at stake in this scam, and Times Now will continue its pursuit of finding the truth and bringing the guilty to book. Bureau Report, Times Now.
All right, let's go across. In fact, we have a guest joining us, Tuhin Sinha, spokesperson of the BJP, joining us on the broadcast. Sanjay Gupta, Shiv Sena leader, also with us. But before I come across to you, gentlemen, I want to get a quick update from our reporters as well. In fact, Arnil is also with us, as is Priya. And Priya, take us through who really the key players in this entire matter are, and what really has their role been. And what have we accessed in terms of documents and information that really nails the role of these individuals such as Arjun Khotkar and others who we have spoken to?
Right. So as per the Times Network reportage, we have got two bases to our allegations that we are putting in front of our viewers. One, you heard the farmers earlier who have been at the receiving end of this conspiracy, collusion, fraud, whatever you might want to call it. There is also a complaint that has been filed with the Enforcement Directorate, which they have been probing. Like Anna Hazare also pointed out earlier, there have been at least 49 instances of similar factories being run down, sold off to private ownership, and farmers being deprived of their rights. Now, one of the key players whose role is under the scanner in this, and probably the most prominent one, is the face that you see right there, the current the Deputy Chief Minister and leader of the NCP, Ajit Pawar. The allegation against him is that he used his clout to appoint the board of directors at the Jalna factory. This, remember, is when politicians entered into the fray. Now, while there wasn't a direct NCP involvement, there were leaders from Shiv Sena as well as the Congress party who were made a part of the board. He is said to have paved way for Arvind Bajirao Chavan and Arjun Khotkar to enter the board of directors of the Jalna factory. Now, these are the leaders. Arvind Bajirao Chavan was appointed the chairman of the board of this factory, while the other person who came on board, Shiv Sena MLA Arjun Khotkar, he also became a member at the same time, both allegedly under the influence and exercising of clout by Deputy Chief Minister Ajit Pawar. With these three parties, the members becoming a part of the board of directors, what the farmers are now alleging is that they deliberately ensured that the factory runs into losses so that later, in collusion with the cooperative bank, this is the allegation, remember, that cooperative banks were also under the influence of the party in power and NCP, which has a lot of clout in this area. They were then auctioned off, and then via that auction route became a property of
Priya,
private owners.
I'd like to request you to stay on with us, Priya, and I'd like to thank you also for breaking this down for our viewers. Let me get in a quick word from our panelists who are with us. I want to first and foremost go across to Sanjay Gupta, leader of the Shiv Sena. Sanjay Gupta ji, चाहे अजीत पवार हो, चाहे अर्जुन खोटकर जो शिवसेना के एमएलए हो, इन सब पे बहुत गंभीर आरोप लग रहे हैं और केंद्र सरकार पे कृषि कानूनों पर सवाल उठाना तो अपोजिशन पार्टीज ने किया ही है, लेकिन आपके पार्टी के लीडर्स और अन्य पार्टी के लीडरों पर यह सवाल उठ रहा है कि इन्होंने इन किसानों को 8000 के करीब किसानों को जालना में इस तरह से चीट किया है। यह एलिगेशन है इन किसानों का, क्या जवाब देंगे? संजय गुप्ता। संजय गुप्ता जी, आपके पार्टी के नेताओं पे आरोप है कि इन्होंने इन किसानों को ठगा है, इन किसानों को लूटा है, ये कहना है इन किसानों का, क्या कहेंगे? All right, I think there's a problem with the audio over there, but let me get in a quick word from Tuhin Sinha of the BJP before while we try to fix that audio line with Sanjay Gupta. Tuhin Sinha, your response to this, very, very serious allegations against top leaders who are associated with the Aghadi.
I must congratulate Times Now, first of all, for blowing the lid of the sugar mill scam, which has been active in Maharashtra for a very long time. I was watching the entire report very carefully, and, you know, as the most striking feature is that the politicians from three parties prominently figure in the entire scam: the Shiv Sena, NCP, and the Congress party. Now, NCP's politics, these scams have been the mainstay of NCP support, and Shiv Sena has always supported them. So now, you know, we realize that the small scams, cooperative scams, which were being enacted in the interiors of Maharashtra have been extrapolated in their formation of the Aghadi Sarkar. Because the same Modus, this...
Right, and there's some breaking news coming in. There's some breaking news coming in fact, at the moment. Tuhin, stay with us, because activist Anna Hazare has written to Home Minister Amit Shah. He has in fact demanded a high-level probe into this scandal. This is a massive newsbreak. Anna Hazare writing to Home Minister Amit Shah, demanding a high-level probe into this entire scandal. Let's go across to Arunil for more on this. Arunil, this is a massive impact indeed. Anna Hazare, the anti-corruption crusader, and he has alleged that as much as a 25,000 crore scam of corruption would be unearthed if this entire matter is probed. Very, very big allegation coming in from Anna Hazare. Arunil.
Well, massive impact. Badhav, in fact, Anna Hazare, the social activist, has written to Union Home Minister Amit Shah, saying that this entire scam goes up to more than rupees 25,000 crore, and there are as many as 49 sugar factories as such where this cooperative scam has happened. Now, Times Now was repeatedly playing, in fact showcasing the modus operandi, how the local politicians, especially from NCP, wherein one of the main masterminds, according to the people who have been affected by the cooperative bank scam, cooperative sugar mill scam, they've been saying that how Ajit Pawar is one of their main masterminds, and because of whom the sugar factories have shut down and the politicians have made profits out of it. Now, Anna Hazare responding to it, in fact writing to Amit Shah, saying that this is a major scam in which 49 sugar factories have been affected, and this scam goes up to more than rupees 25,000 crore. Now, how exactly the central agencies react to it, because already ED had attached around properties more than rupees 60 crore of Ajit Pawar with respect to these sugar mill factories, and IT had also made searches in properties more than rupees 1,000 crore of Ajit Pawar, related to Ajit Pawar and his relatives across different areas in Mumbai, Pune and Goa. Now, how central agencies will look into it, that we will be keeping a close eye on.
All right, Arunil as well as Priya, I'd like to thank both of you for bringing us all of those details, and also Gaurav for reporting on the story. I'd like to thank our guests for joining us as well. For the moment, we're slipping into a very quick break, but we're going to continue to track this particular story right here on Times Now.